I guess we'll start. All right, this is the Downtown Revitalization Ad Hoc Committee. Today's April 2nd, 2026. This meeting is being recorded, so you can go to the Town of Bridgewater's website for the link. I will call this meeting to order. It is now 9 o'clock. Present, I have Council Kevin Perry, Council Mark Lindy, and myself, Mary McGrath. We have staff members with us. Mr. Casanova Davis may come in. We have Mr. Rulli, Director of CED. We have Mr. Stephen Solari, the building inspector, and another one, zoning.
Building commissioner and zoning enforcement.
Okay, and Miss Nicole Salvi.
Salvi.
Sorry. And I don't think the other ones are here yet. All right, so first thing we should do is approve the minutes from March 5th, 2026.
So moved.
I'll second it, but I have a correction to make.
Okay,
On page 3 of 11, the second page of the minutes, it said that I made a motion to not recommend order 0 FY 26-040, and then it was seconded by myself. I don't think I can make the motion and second it.
all right.
So that needs a correction.
Oh, yeah.
A motion to end.
I'm assuming Kevin.
I'll say I made that second.
Okay. All in favor?
Good pickup.
Yeah.
Aye.
All right, so back to reapproving the minutes now. We already have a second.
Yep.
Approve?
Yep.
All right.
Aye.
All right, now we have public comment. Deb, anybody online? On Zoom? Deb?
James Walsh has his hand up.
All right. What she said?
James Walsh.
Mr. Walsh, go ahead.
Hey, good morning. James Walsh, 60 Crescent Street. Wanted to just mention a couple things. First off, wanted to just thank everyone for the facade improvement ordinance or resolution. I know that's working its way through, but I'm just really excited to see it. I've been so excited to follow it through and kind of see those revisions. And I think this is just so important to the town. So thank you for continuing to kind of spear this through. I'm really excited to see how it develops. And then I wanted to just touch on a couple other items that I know had come up in the past. One was, how can we create more incentives for these property owners around the common to keep up, like spend the additional funds to keep up their properties and kind of create that visual sense that will attract more economic development to town. I was doing I know in the past we had talked about the historic district itself and how that is recognized at the local level. I wanted to mention the federal and state tax credits that would be available to these property owners if we got these on the national register. I was doing some quick research on my own, and it looks like if we were to get these listed on the national register, these property owners would have 20% federal and state tax credits that they could use if they rehab this. So that could really help us. I know we've done a lot of the research is already done. That was done for the local district. So just wanted to raise that as an option if you're looking for volunteers to kind of help with looking to pursue that at the national level and get those registered. Would be happy to help there. And then the second thing I just wanted to touch on the blight ordinance or the blight agenda item that's up for discussion today. I'm generally supportive of this. I like the idea of that we could leverage receivership, that we could step in a little bit to help make sure some of those, the revenue that they receive goes to restoring the buildings. But I did just have a couple questions about that. I'm curious if there's an understanding, and maybe this comes from CED, of like what other things would this set in motion if we made this area blighted. I have less concerns with the smaller area that was proposed, but for the larger area, especially where that overlaps with the MBTA zoning districts, if we declare that area blighted, does it make it easier for developers or any sort of state official to start kind of amassing parcels for redevelopment. I know when we passed the MBTA zoning resolution, one of the fail-safe or one of the protections that was mentioned is that these lots are very small over there, so it would be very difficult for someone to realize the full potential of MBTA zoning. But are we making it easier for them to now amass those lots together and maybe increase the bulk of those buildings? So I guess in summary, just three things. Very supportive of the facade improvement program. Wanted to ask if there was any talk about the national listing and the credits available there and volunteer if you need help. And then third, just some questions on the blight, the impacts of declaring blight, especially in the MBTA zoning district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Welch. Is there anybody else, Deb?
Janet Hanson and then Carlton.
Go ahead, Janet. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks to Donna, I found out you had the meeting. That website, I'm hoping they fix it so that you can get notifications, but, so I'm not there. I echo what James was saying about the, downtown. I've always mentioned that if we could get an incentive to the landlords, the owners of the buildings downtown specifically, to upkeep their buildings, make them look good without increasing the rent on the renters, because that's important, because otherwise you can fix it up all you want, but it's going to be empty. Or we may not get what we want down there. But I too feel that, and I like the ordinance you're going to be discussing about the maintaining the standards and upkeep. The only thing is it does say how to enforce it, but I'm concerned about it being enforced because we already have enforced rules in the town charter or town code about properties being not necessarily abandoned, but if they're not upkept and they're still owned by somebody. That was like the Friendlies project that was owned, but no one enforced them cutting their grass, so it wouldn't have looked so bad. But that's in there, but no one's enforcing it. So we really have to make sure that the enforcement is there. And as far as the blighted, I'm a little confused on that, but I looking at it quickly, it seems like too big an area. I'm looking at all the streets on your map that are supposedly included, and I don't think anything on some of those streets are blighted. So I'm concerned and looking to see how you explain the size and what the benefit to the town is to declare something blighted. But I do want to upkeep the historic value of downtown, and see how it can be enforced. And what James was saying was pretty good. And if we can get the incentives, I was thinking incentives, a tax break, but that doesn't help the town per se because we need all the money. But I don't want to see landlords taking advantage of it and increasing their rent because they improved the building, which they should have been improving to begin with. So that's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Janet. Carlton?
Yeah, a couple of quick points. Good morning. I hope everybody's well. The comments reminded me to say a couple of things. I have a file of over 450 photos of buildings in the proposed blighted area that we did back 10 or 12 years ago for the first CBDG grant application. So I've got a file. The buildings are older, but I've got a file of many of the problems in the area. The second one is to the point of getting the central business, not the central business district, but this HDC on the National Register. The McElwain School was put on the National Register, which did provide those owners who bought the land with significant funds to do their work. But how you get on there, CPC provided the funding for this study and the work that put development property on the National Register. So the CPC funds were used to, in fact, make that happen. It's just a comment, and that's all I had to say. I'm looking forward to hearing what you all talk about. Thanks.
Thank you, Carlton. Anybody else, Debbie, that would like to talk? That's on
Yep,
Zoom.
Counselor Hunt has her hand up.
Go ahead, Counselor Hunt.
Thanks. I just want to be noted as being there because I've been on since you started. I just want that to be noted.
All right, thank you. Anybody in the room? You want to say anything, Donna? First for me, right? Well, we have another public comment. All right, so we'll go on to items referred and maybe we should take out.
I'll make a motion to take B zoning ordinance D FY 26009 zoning ordinance amendment Central Square property maintenance standard out of order.
Second.
All right. Everyone approve?
Yep.
Aye. Aye. All right. So I guess we should just jump right into it. Anybody have anything to say?
Well, one of the things I said at the last meeting was in asking for the enforcement officer, building enforcement officer to be here for this meeting is I wanted to get his feedback on is this redundant compared to what we already have in our building regs and the enforceability of it, which is what one of the people of the public mentioned, concerned about enforceability. I do have concerns about enforceability, so I wanted to hear it from him on what his thoughts were on it and if this is something that's feasible.
I think that's what we all agree. So Steve,
Sure.
we'll go over to you.
So I did get the, Justin sent me the ordinance, and I did, I don't know if anybody received, I did send, some information back on my opinion, based on all the years I've been doing zoning. And my first thing is that I don't think maintenance should be a zoning bylaw. Because it's not a zoning issue.
Right.
It should be either a code, a town code, or I'd also stated that I think a major thing we need to do is we need to upgrade and maybe make some changes to the HDC's regulations because I deal with Mr. Bob Smith all the time. Because being one person trying to see everything, he's usually a good one of calling me saying, "Hey, Steve, I noticed this person painted, or someone's got a sign that's blinking, or someone's got a certain sign." So he's usually the person that ends up telling me when I have issues. And it's the same with the signage on telephone poles. I think right now I have about 40 signs on the back of my truck because I run around town and I pry off all the signs off the telephone poles. So yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I feel it should be either a town ordinance and an upgrade to the HDC's requirements. Enforcement, I will be honest, I almost have dealt with all the owners of those properties down there. I'll just say, good luck. I mean, for me, because as you know, a lot of them are not local owners. They are people that do not live in the areas. And I mean, I know the biggest one that we have right now, the blighted one, to me, personally, is the one, of course, where the Justice Desserts was on the corner there, because we're looking at plywood on windows. We're also looking at three empty stores. Two of those stores had to leave because of insurance reasons, because they couldn't get insurance.
Wow.
Because you had the tattoo parlor, you had the piercing place that they relied on health, so they didn't pass. And the smoke shop, those just went out of business. And I as far as the Just Desserts business, I really don't know. I just think lack of business for her.
Accessibility.
Yes. But again, it all comes down to the building itself. It's a very tough building. I've had to go there a couple times and call the owner for flooding the basement. It's sad because it's a really unique building because all the jalousie windows that run down the sidewalk are still there behind all those boards. Originally, that building had windows all along the sidewalk because the basement originally, I've been told, I didn't know, originally had bowling alley. And the tin ceiling is still in the basement. but the basement is just totally, I don't know over the years, but of changes, but it gets water bad. So that's why the basement's almost unusable. So, and we have contacted the owner, multiple times. As you know, when we had I'm sure that everyone knew about the time when the gentleman fell through the floor.
Before
When
it
he brought it out to the outside walkway, he went into the basement. So at that point, we required an engineer to come in and basically if you go in there now, all those front entranceways have all structural supports in there. Not pretty, but structural supports for all those areas. So I know we've had issues with the rooming house as far as making them change egresses, but not really any maintenance. It's basically just the requirements of myself and the fire department on the building itself. So a lot of these places, yes, they do need to be updated and brought up. But again, it is also what I've been dealing in the years of being a bill inspector. I always jump to the civil end because it's their property. We don't own their property; they own their property. So again, an ordinance in place and enforcement's hard unless we have a full-blown, I would say, ticketing. I know the town does have a ticketing system. We've never really done a good ticketing system in the town since I've been here 9 years.
Yeah.
So again, I had also asked that the town attorney review this bylaw based on just basically on the being a zoning bylaw or being an ordinance. As far as the enforcement, I do what I'm told by the town. So I mean, I know a lot of people come to me and ask me, my opinion on what we should do, but really whatever the council or the town manager, I have to follow bylaws, zoning bylaws, town bylaws, and of course the state building code. Those are three items that I have to enforce. Enforcement is tough because as you know, I do get a lot of calls from properties, and I know it was brought up that there's a lot of bank-owned properties that are empty, and they some mobile on, some don't. And same with down here, but it always comes to the issue that if the taxes are being paid and everything's being paid, at what point is it abandoned or let go? But as far as my personal opinion on the ordinance is that it should be not a zoning bylaw, but it should be a town ordinance, maybe construed with the HTC.
And you were also mentioning about a building code as well. Would there be someplace in our own building?
Right.
Code
So
that
in
this could
building
fit?
code, you're not going to get a lot of maintenance.
Okay.
It doesn't really do with paint, chipping,
Yeah.
rotted wood. It deals with structure.
Just the structural, the safetiness of it.
Right. And then lead paint might you might be able to follow that through the Board of Health, because lead paint, asbestos, that usually goes through the Board of Health.
So I know looking up at saying clearing this is a blighted area. Not only do we get grants for taking out lead paint and everything, but we open the door for the renewable Attorney General's office abandonment housing initiatives. And they can come in and pretty much force the stuff to do under receivership. A court appoints a receiver to manage a blighted or vacant, even occupied, that is unsafe. And they can put a lien on their property and we can actually fix up that property. And when they sell it, the money gets back.
I've seen it done with properties like Boston, Brockton, where the owner just left. I've never seen it happen with property that's being operated, activated, fully work. I have personally never seen it done that way. And Bob might know more on that information than I would have.
And I know they prevent foreclosures. They will work with the bank if the building's going into foreclosure, not for it to go. They'll put the money up. But it's something that we could look into. Do you know more about this, Bob?
Well, it's very difficult to put property in receivership. We have no legal basis to do that. I mean, as Steve said, the Attorney General's jurisdiction on that is for abandoned properties for the most part. In Rhode Island, there is what they call non-utilization tax. When you have abandoned buildings, you have the ability to put tax on top of the tax. But I don't think any of these property owners are close to foreclosure because most of them don't have any debt on their property.
No, I'm just saying some of the other ones that I've seen down like the other area near the college. I mean, they've banned it, there's no one there, so I don't know if they're foreclosed. but-
Well, again, this is, we're dealing with properties in the central square, so.
Well, a blighted area would cover the two areas. Yeah.
Like I said, but we're not dealing with the blighted ordinance, aren't we? We're dealing with just the maintenance standards of the central square property, so.
Right.
So, question. So you've sent information, I'm not privy to that information. Do any of my other committee members have that?
The information you shared just now, that's what he was talking about. EC recommends that it's an ordinance and it's the HTC regulation.
It's only
Okay.
interested that when we get the information here, so we could discuss it.
Okay,
So,
I guess my question is, was that a written email and should we have had it before the meeting? That's all I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, but we have.
No, I'm glad he's here. I'm very glad he's here, but I would like to see that.
So this is not gonna help much because we can't touch maintenance. We have to write a town code and we would have to work with Bill Smith to update the historical.
I definitely think you want to update the historical. It's very, I have, you know, I have a copy of the historical map right in my office. And it's an old map, but it tells me the properties. But really going through, I know people have brought up like lawns and cleaning grass, and there's no legal, I have not seen any bylaw that says lawns or debris in someone's yard is required, because if that was the case, you need to hire about 30 more people to go through the town of Bridgewater and go to everybody's house, because everybody's house has got tons of
Yeah.
It's
stuff.
enforceability is the
Yeah.
biggest, the biggest question
We
about
should
it.
step over something like that, people's property. I can see this, you know, up here.
Yeah, that's why like I said, I'm concentrating on what has been brought to me as far as
Yeah,
the town center. And I know the HTC is, probably get the biggest piece because it's historic. So, they've got the biggest piece on it. And like I said, having a maintenance, ordinances, I don't find that an issue. That's why I thought that, Jason should look at it. And, because do we, putting in, as a zoning bylaw, because, like I said, I've never seen maintenance, as a zoning bylaw. That was just my,
Yes.
it doesn't mean it can't be. I've never seen
No,
it. So I don't understand that, what I say goes. No, it's just, I've never seen it.
No, as you mentioned, I think, we incorporate something like this in the HDC regulations relative to downtown might be a proper place for it, but again, I still question the ability to enforce it, and you can have it on paper, but it's only as good as your ability to enforce those regulations.
And I do, I had said before, even I enforce HDC, I enforce town ordinances and zoning ordinance. So being that it became a town ordinance or HDC, it's still getting the same enforcement.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to have something that legally was questionable with zoning, that's all.
And I agree with you on that. I don't think, like you said, it's a zoning situation. It's either, you can say a town ordinance, HDC, regulation ordinance type of thing. So it might need to be rewritten as such going forward. Maybe that's the recommendation we do as a subcommittee, to send it back and have it rewritten as a potential, ordinance for the HDC. And then again, bring it back. And again, it's still the question of enforceability. So.
go ahead, Mark.
So I know what you're talking about with maintenance and enforcement. Is there anything we can do on a boarded up building? It's the question I.
Well, if it's so under the building code, if it's a boarded up building, it's safe.
That's zoning.
It's safe.
Yeah.
It's safe. That's why, I'm sure you've seen buildings in town with the big circle, the X in it.
Yeah,
That is for the fire department, saying that the fire department, no one is allowed to enter. So even if the building caught on fire, they're not going in because it's an unsafe structure to go in. And that's, I know it's not this part, well, it is.
96 Main Street.
Is the old bowling alley? Yeah, I was gonna say, is the old bowling alley still in? Yeah, it's in the,
That's a central business
Yeah.
district, but I don't think that's been circled with an X.
it did have one.
Oh,
It was on the window, and it
Oh,
has since. Come off.
oh, gotcha, okay.
Yeah, but we
Under
have,
96 Main Street's a similar situation, that's.
exactly, so that the fire department doesn't go into the.
I mean, I would recommend that we keep this here and we ask Mr. Smith to come in and maybe get recommendations from Mr. Rowley. what you think
Yeah,
about
as a
this
town
going
attorney.
forward.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
but again, I think it's, it just has to be, rewritten or recommended and not be a zoning ordinance, but it's gonna be something, an ordinance to be applied in a different location.
Right, but we should get input for the
Which is fine,
historical
yeah.
commission, so that's why I like to keep it here, so that
Yep.
we send it to
We can bring in Mr. Smith
the town council.
from H.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lilly, did you want to speak on this?
Not right now.
No? Okay. All right,
So that's fine.
thank you very much.
No, no problem.
No
And
problem.
I've also spoken, Dave Moore's been in my office. In my
Yeah.
office all the time, and we've spoken one or two, so I know he's been involved he's involved with historic, so.
Yeah, he's come to the meeting, I'll reach out to him for the next one.
But that's the information that we needed, so I thank you very
Yeah,
much.
I just put it out there that, maybe the town attorney should really look at and put it in a place where it should go. I don't, I'm not an attorney, so I don't want to be one.
No.
So. I just
Well,
wanted
we'll
to-
gather information and get some
Yeah.
ideas and then send
Yeah,
it to the attorney
sure.
and also
Yeah.
send it on to you.
Very
Yeah,
good.
whatever processes the town wants to go. That's, I'll do it.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much.
No problem.
So-
Thank you.
Have a recommendation to keep it here so we can continue working on it, so by the time we send it to the town council, it's more information, we know where we stand a little bit.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we continue the discussion over here.
Second.
Everyone approve?
Aye.
Aye.
So now we can go on to the next.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, any
Thank you.
questions? I'll take anytime anyone has a question.
Don't say that, might be not gonna be.
You know what, that's fine. We
I
don't
wanted to see the historical one.
Yeah. I can print it out easily. It's only on a 9 by.
Oh,
That would be nice.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're back to order FY 26051. Declare the downtown corridor of Bridgewater a blighted area.
And I even asked, in the minutes, we talked about putting the word blighted into everything.
I think we
And
did. We
it's
did.
still on the agenda here and it's still in the
Okay.
ordinance
Gotta get it corrected.
in
for next
multiple
time.
places.
Yeah.
I thought we did that.
But it is,
Okay, so can you recommend
I'm gonna recommend an amendment
Can I
under,
interrupt? You
Yeah.
can't change that until it goes to town council.
Well, I
You
think I
don't-
tried to make a motion on that last
You
meeting.
made
too.
the amendment, but you can't make the full change until it goes back to town council.
And based on our amendments, correct?
Right. So that
Recommended.
you can't add ED until it goes to town council.
Gotcha.
And
Thank you.
take it as a whole.
I'll just say it.
Okay,
All right,
okay.
So, open to discussion.
So the biggest thing I had from the last meeting was, as I think also mentioned by a resident in all the comments, is the area that this is encompassing. Again, I didn't know if we were looking to kind of take smaller areas that we definitely know have a bunch of buildings in that situation, and that's why I was going to ask Mr. Rulli at our last meeting. He wasn't here, so now that he's here, I'd like to ask him. Is there a strategy to this small area versus large area? Does it behoove us to do it either way? And if there are any repercussions to other properties within this area, as we label it blighted, does it have any consequences to properties that aren't blighted, so to speak?
No, I mean, the first comment is I wouldn't call it a corridor. I would call it an area.
Okay.
Because the corridor is very specific. To the gentleman that spoke first, I mean, it's not going to create a situation that suddenly properties are devalued and somebody's gonna come in and speculate. It's not gonna have any impact at all because the market will dictate what properties are worth. And we've talked about the Just Dessert building. You know, that gentleman is still looking for close to $1 million for that property. So, I think this isn't as complicated as maybe it seems. I would just say that, whether it's the CBDR, the CBS, those areas are blighted, period. That gives you the flexibility that you're not looking at specific properties. That area on average has been determined to be blighted.
Yeah.
That's all like for community development block grants. As the town council designated an area blighted, yes, okay, now you're eligible. With respect to historic tax credits, Carlton talked about an individual building being put on the National Register. You can have districts put on the register. You have to do a full inventory of all of the properties within that district. That is not done by local people, it's done by professionals, and then it has to go to the Secretary of Interior. So historic falls under the Department of Interior. So that's where it goes for approval. Historic tax credits are good, but they're not the panacea for the problem. You only get a limited amount of money. I think it's only up to 35% of what the facade improvements are eligible for historic tax credits. There is a limited amount of historic credits available statewide, because there's an allocation on an annual basis. It's super competitive. Not saying that it shouldn't be investigated, but it's a process to get there. A property owner can apply for historic tax credits, whether a building is in a district or not. But again, there's criteria that they have to go through. And that usually has to go to the State Office of Historic Preservation to evaluate the application. And that's not a quick process either. So I don't think there's any negative by saying that the area is blighted. I mean, you're simply really doing that for funding. I don't think, by definition, if you go around now, all your conversation is you have abandoned buildings, you have lead paint, it's blighted.
Right, sure. So would you recommend that we follow basically the districts as we've laid them out as a town, the CBDR, the CBDS and things like that?
Yeah, I think that's the cleanest way to do it, is because that is capturing your downtown area. I mean, 96 Main Street, as an example, is in the CBES. But you would want to, if nothing was happening there, you would want to have included that property.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's the cleanest way to do it.
And the way we have it laid out here, Mary, it's not exactly overlaying the same districts as we've had them in our,
I didn't, these are these the ones that encompass it all that you sent us, Bob? These two?
these, because again, this, I don't know, I'm saying it just,
I think we sent you the maps of CBDR and CBDS.
that's what these are.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my
All right, then that's fine. Okay. Gotcha.
I think if you get too specific,
Yeah,
then it's going to be a problem.
no, I appreciate you clarifying that.
Yep, no, I think that helps my, my situation as well, for sure.
Because I know that you were concerned about the area down near the college, but
Yeah.
I looked up that area. And most of those houses are owned by private or realtor. I checked to see GIS completely, so I think.
And that goes back to residents' question, back to Mr. Rulli on that. So say, again, we declare it blighted. Developer wants to come in, buy a bunch of parcels, try and tear everything down and build something larger or something like that. Does that open us for a risk for doing anything along those lines?
No, I mean, you look at the friendly site, how long it sat there vacant, and what Mr. Pascal was able to sell the property for. So, I mean, the market will be whatever it's going to be. But right now, I don't think it's going to have any negative effect. It's not going to cause speculation.
Yeah. Okay. That's
No,
just
because-
to answer that question.
Because it talks about being demolishing a building. It's not easy.
No.
And the
Yeah,
town actually has to put in some of the money or something with, I can't remember. It's the
well, we
money
haven't
or
done much in
something.
delay ordinance that would
Yeah,
review
but
all that first.
They
too.
make it a little bit harder for you to do it.
To
under
do
this
something
law.
like that.
Yeah, they're not easily done that way.
No, again, for me, those are the questions I had, and that don't seem to be answered. Again, designated these areas blighted is mostly a paper situation that allows us to apply for the block grants that allows us to get the funding to make some changes in these areas. So I don't seem to have a problem with doing it as laid out.
I think the questions have been answered. I don't need to.
All right, so we're gonna we recommended to the town council that we're gonna recommend a couple amendments, that we're gonna change the word corridor to area, and we're gonna recommend it blight to blighted.
Yeah, just those writing areas, those writing word situations. Yep, I would go with area, and makes those blighted. And as it's written is good, and then we'll leave the areas as designated since they follow our zoning.
Yeah, I would
CBDR
just
and
be
CBDS.
specific, call out CBDR and CBDR. That way, somebody looking at it knows exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, so we also want to recommend,
Include the zoning regions of CBDR and CBDS. I'm just trying to see where in this document we would put it.
Probably another whereas.
it could be,
Town opportunities, right? Well, okay. Or I'm gonna change the quarter in that therefore too, that the,
area.
I would say the area, so if we want to elaborate on the areas of CBDR and CBDS of the town of Bridgewater, that last line.
Yes,
Which line are you talking
So
about? Oh,
therefore,
therefore, okay,
that
sorry.
the areas, that the zoning, we'll call it zoning areas of CBDR and CBDS of the town of Bridgewater are declared blighted areas.
Yeah, that's the only one that's right. Mine says ED.
And then,
Right, that's the only one that's right.
okay, yeah. I'm sticking for good English too.
Yeah. Should
But
have AI check it.
But I would make those changes and recommend it
is
as.
that a motion?
I'll make those motions.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Send it back to council.
ready to council. All right, so now, moving on to discussion downtown.
You need to make another motion to refer it to council. That was to do the amendment.
Okay,
Thank you, Deb.
I'll make the motion to refer it to the council.
I'll second.
all approve?
Aye.
All in favor, aye.
Aye. Favor, aye.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you, Deb.
All right, so now discussion, we're talking about the downtown. So because we've talked about, changing the common, the traffic flow is gonna affect that, so we decided to stop and start working on the
Yeah.
traffic.
So, yeah, I think what we need to do is, as a subcommittee here, based on the studies that have been done and the public sessions, and again, we've got all the paper in the world on it, is we need to come to some decisions on what we want to do, as far as design goes. And then, once we make those decisions, then through the town manager's office, we can apply for grants and other monies to make some of those changes. But we gotta have our ducks in a row and decisions made before we can even do that part of it. So I think we gotta kind of put pen to paper and decide what exactly, that we want to do design factor based on all the feedback that was received from the different surveys that Mr. Rulli did with his office, the presentations of the different companies that came in here with their designs and stuff.
Well, I know I heard from some residents that, they don't want it, they're concerned about us going based on surveys because, there was only 75 people there.
I understand.
So
It's-
that's
but
one of the, no, I'm just telling you what I heard from
Yeah.
residents. And the other thing is at this time, I don't think we can afford a roundabout. That would be taking land by intimate domain, wouldn't it be? We need to,
Yeah, I think that you're not, I think you've got some shorter term.
Yes, and I don't think that the public had an appetite for a roundabout outside the common. So I think that idea is definitely.
well, if you look at one of the surveys, that's one of the things that the residents was concerned because 75 people, a lot of them voted for that. So I'm just letting you know.
I understand. I'm getting.
Because they know I'm talking.
Taking it out with a grain of salt, because I read it as well, but I think, based on other conversations I've had with the public and discussions that we've had in this committee and stuff like that, I have a just and a feeling of kind of what, the public's looking for. There's been a lot of discussion I've heard on angled parking versus parallel parking, and I think a lot of people are concerned about the idea of parallel parking. I think some people want to keep the angled parking. That affects your ability to go one or two lanes, and affects your ability to widen sidewalks and things of that nature. So if we are keeping angle parking, I think our traffic flow is pretty much staying the same. And our sidewalk is staying the same. I think we're just looking at maybe some bump outs wherever we're doing the crosswalks and things like that to make it shorter distances. And we're not getting into major wholesale changes as some of the things we discussed. I know there's a proposal in one of those that basically just gets into lighting at intersections and crosswalks and things like that. I think that's probably a proposal we're probably looking to go closer to, based on ability to get funding and things of that nature. But at least it'll make it more walkable, more safer to walk, and not creating major wholesale changes that I'm not sure if the public is ready for.
As far as the angle versus parallel parking, I'm not a business owner in downtown, but I walk it when it's bad and wet. And the angle parking in most of the crosswalks, you're just waiting to get yourself killed. I think we need to look at a different angle than what we have. The angle that we have is extreme. Okay, We might lose a couple of spaces to a different angle, not as many as parallel, but I think we have to do something. The owner of the Yankee Clipper Barbershop, I mentioned this before, his mother got killed
Oh, I know.
in one of those crosswalks. And every time I get a haircut, which isn't often, I go there and I hear the story again and again. And we have to do something to improve the pedestrian safety in downtown. Just even, when everything was redone over here, there's a telephone pole right in the crosswalk going across from the library to the town hall. When it was put back in, probably should have been moved. There's some simple things I think that we can do. I haven't heard from one person that two-way on both sides or either side is a good idea. I think it's a nightmare as it is, and to do that. And I do agree with Mary. I don't think 75 people is a representative sample of the number of people that should ask. I definitely think we should speak to the downtown business owners a lot more. I know even down the road, Mr. Gottschalk reached out to me because he's in my district about crosswalks down in that area. And, with a new development going in there, there's going to be more traffic and parking issues than there are now. I asked, and I still would like to see something about, this, I know we're talking downtown road and pedestrian improvements, but I just want to stick in another note that I still want to know what our overall plan is going to be with the parking behind the building downtown, because that affects business owners and pedestrian improvements.
So after one parade, I stuck around and talked to Chief Del Monte about what they thought, when he's the police and the fire. And he thought the idea would be to stop, to block off this road next to here would be all parking. Fix have this be a two-way and fix the parking behind where the Lucky Star is and fix it up. But I want Mr. Casanova Davis to speak, because I know he's been working on transportation, working with them and talking and working with the parking lot. So if you would give us an update of what
Yeah,
you
sure.
guys have been talking about.
So I would say it's collaborative with CED department and Bob and BSU. So a couple of things. One, my office in collaboration with CED, we've reached out to our downtown businesses now and trying to create a relationship, talk about the parking lot in particular. We're looking at opportunities to clean that parking lot, repave it, potential partnerships with BSU. We're looking at a variety of things, but we do want to move forward with cleaning up the municipal lot, repaving, making it a little more accessible, putting some more wayfinding signage so people know the parking lot is there, because I feel like a lot of people don't know that. We have a parking permit process with our downtown businesses that we're working to restart and implement. So we're looking at that and on the parking lot. Mary, I'm just going to go a little bit further than that, though.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I think I'm glad we're having this discussion, because one of the things that we said very early on is we want to try to focus on the downtown area. I know we've talked about this a lot of times. We've had various studies, et cetera, but we're literally in the one-stop shop expression of interest program, and I'm working with CED. We're going to submit some, grant requests, but we need to know a direction, right? And so that's where we need the council to at least give us some guidance on what you want to do, whether you want to do another planning process. I think you've had a lot of planning processes already, but do you want to have some action? If you do, you got to tell us what you want to do so we can apply for it, right? Because this is the time, because
I
this
kind of
window's
would
going to close.
You to maybe have present at the town council, like a couple different ones, not with the Rotary, because we just can't afford it. So the different ones that I've seen through, because I've looked through the progress and the other ones, and there's like several different ones that we can fix without, a lot of money. And if further down the road, we want to change it, it wouldn't be hugely changed, you just add the road or whatever. So we can decide on what, because we need to make a decision, because otherwise we're just going to keep talking about it, not doing anything. So I like that, especially when you're doing the one-stop grant that, you and Mr. Uli, whoever presents, the ones that you have that without the roundabout.
What is the, I'm sorry, just what was the time frame? Do we have a certain deadline on these grants for application?
Yes.
So yes, there's the expression of interest now, and then I think the application's open in May. Bob will correct me, but I think May, and then they close June or something like that.
So closing June, end of June or beginning of June?
Beginning.
So we have basically a month of May to apply.
Well, I mean,
There's more you can do. But
yeah, I mean, I think that, we took a large view of all of the things we could do in Central Square, and that's what these previous studies have done. And lots of work and lots of money if you wanted to do all of those things. I think in the short term, there are things you can do. You know, as Justin said, we're working with BSU on the parking lot. We have to get a survey of the parking lot done first because we don't even know where the boundaries are. I think there is a willingness from BSU to participate in the maintenance and maybe leasing some spaces from us. We've had conversations about what happens when the fire station is demolished. Can we do a 2-level parking structure that doesn't need to have full fire suppression? The topography lends itself to that. So that I think down the road is something to look at. That might be something you want to put in for a one-stop, is to look at the feasibility of that. I think you can go to parallel parking on this side of Central Square and keep the traffic the way that it is. Your net loss of spaces isn't that much, because when we look at the parking that had been reserved for the fire station on School Street, those parking spaces are like a parking space and a half. So I mean, restriping that, the university has asked if the town would consider making School Street 2-way. That would allow for some improved parking. So I don't think your net loss of parking is that significant. With respect to Councilman Lindy's on the angles, it's geometry. There's only so much, you know, there are standards that the state has that, you know, in terms of what those angles can be. So I mean, that's probably as good as an angle you're going to get, which is not good. So I think to your point, Dr. Perry, parallel parking, yeah, gives you the ability to bump the sidewalks out a little bit in the future, creates a more friendly pedestrian environment. But all of those things that I just mentioned, we can do now.
Right.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Why do they want School Street to be 1-way?
Just because it's going to
Two-way.
two-way.
They want to make
Oh,
2-way.
two-way.
Yeah.
It just,
So it's easy in and out.
it creates for better flow.
Okay.
Yeah,
And if you were going to, you know, if you're coming out from that entrance by the Hunt School, you don't have choices.
Right. No,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm sorry, Mr. Casanova Davis, is there more that you wanted to talk about?
No, Bob really hit on some of those things we're already planning to do, right? For
Right.
some of these things, the parking, the fire department parking, we'll take those signs down. Those are some spaces that we're gonna be able to add to our parking spaces in downtown, you know? So, yeah, I think Bob did a good job.
So do you think that you could be ready not for this town council meeting, but the following one, just to show the different plans that you have that are more feasible, that we can start working on stuff and getting stuff right away?
Yes.
I appreciate that, yeah, because we have 3 town council meetings, so.
Yeah, I would
I'd
like to.
suggest the April 21st one, because the April 14th, you might just
Yeah,
want
so
to
how do
leave
you
for the
do?
budget and whatever you do,
Okay,
but maybe the April 21st meeting.
Because if we can come up with a direction by by May, obviously, so we can apply for some of these grants that, gets us in the window. Mr. Ridley, question, I know, we've had discussions in the past talking about Walgreens parking, CVS parking. Has there been any more discussion with the owners of the properties about shared parking with those lots? I know there's some strict enforcement of towing and stuff from some of those lots.
We have not spoken to them. I think as we get into the municipal lot, I mean, having a conversation with CVS, whoever owns that property, would be the right thing to do, because that's going to benefit them as much as it's going to benefit us. The Walgreens, no, we know that there's 3 separate owners. We know that Walgreens as a corporation is in some financial peril, but nothing beyond, just doing some due diligence to see who the players are.
Are they really actively towing from those lots? Are we seeing that happening?
I'm not aware of it.
All right. I'm just concerned because again, we've got your boundless being, you got the new restaurant that just reopened up under a new name type of thing. Obviously, to have people be able to maybe park at CVS and walk across, or park at Walgreens and walk down, since they don't have it, has a lot of parking, just to help support those businesses, I think would be important. But I know Chase has redesigned their thing; they don't even have a drive-through anymore. So I'm not sure if people are using their parking a lot, but just to have that conversation about shared parking with some of these business owners to help, people navigate the downtown and access some of these
Yeah, I
businesses.
mean, that's,
wasn't it a liability issue? That's one of the town.
oh, if it's on private property,
Yeah.
it is, but without an agreement.
Yeah.
I mean, the trend in many municipalities in the Commonwealth right now is, on new projects don't have any parking requirements, because you're trying to promote shared parking wherever you can.
Right.
You've been back there with the parking lot that's a mess. I mean,
More times than I want to be.
I've been down there one too many. So how many parking spots do you think we could put in there?
Don't know yet. I mean, we don't, we have an idea of
They
where
do
we
the
think
property lines.
the property lines are.
No,
You
I'm
know,
just saying where, as you see it now.
I don't know. I mean, I can't even count how many spaces there are now, because I can't see them.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's also accessibility from that lot to get to different parts
Yeah,
of the.
I mean, that
common.
lot right now is not ADA compliant. I mean, that's something that we're gonna have
Yeah.
to take into consideration.
No, Donna's drove me down
I
there.
mean, there's rights of way, those pathways between the buildings, we're not sure who owns those.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, there's-
Like in between these stores over here, there's a driveway in there. And I see cars parking in there. So it's
Oh.
between the two buildings. So that's not a town entryway. That's private.
It's probably a private.
Where are you go talking about closer to the gas station?
in between the Cumberland and, or the guy that owned Cumberland building.
And
The
the
gas station?
barber shop or
In the
something.
gas
Yeah.
station, where's that?
Yeah, no, over here.
Oh, so yeah,
Well,
in between, yeah. So there's another alleyway next to Music Alley.
Right.
Just to,
But that's private.
I think that's private.
just a simple question. Wouldn't the original agreement between Last Parking and the town have the number of spaces listed on the agreement? I would think.
You would think. There's a lot of things with that.
Well, we think we would have the survey too. At least we're working on it.
Yeah, no, and I would say that Justin and I had a meeting over at BSU on Friday. I mean, they're fully engaged. I mean, we've been out there with their new facilities head, their consultant. They provided a summary of what we think the plan going forward is to the manager. So they are definitely partnered up with the town to see something happen there.
No, I think you guys did a lot of work and you're moving it fast and I appreciate
And
it.
I think one thing about that component is to evaluate if there's a good opportunity for partnership there, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to try to, there's a limited amount of funds that we have here. We're being cognizant of that. We're gonna apply for some grants, et cetera. But, if we want to fix up that parking lot, want to mitigate the expenses on us, let's see if there's an opportunity to partner with BSU that makes sense for the town. Because ultimately we can have these discussions. It might not make sense for our town and our businesses, and we don't do that. Maybe we have to do it. But we're having those discussions. We're trying to see what makes sense, and we'll share that with you all after we have some more information.
Will
Or
you
you
keep
started
it a
that process.
paid meter that we have to pay or
Excuse me?
we're gonna get rid of the meter so people don't have to pay for parking?
No, that's not something that I think makes
I
sense.
think
there. And we have a contract with laws.
So we'll keep them. Okay.
Well, that is an unknown. I don't necessarily know that we'll keep them, but we do have a contract with them at the moment, and so that's something else we'll evaluate.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate Bob that you get that ready. Because that way we'll focus on something we don't have so much. Yeah.
So yeah, what I would suggest is if we have a presentation by that 21st meeting, we can meet as a subcommittee shortly thereafterward.
Yeah.
To review that, presentation discussion as a council and then start putting some potential decisions together of what direction to go. At that point, I'm saying if we wanted to have a meeting after the fact with just some surrounding businesses, if we've got some ideas, just to make sure they seem to be on board. If they have any more feedback to give, I think that would be a
That's
good
a good
idea.
idea.
And then potentially be in place to start applying for some grants in May. But at least that gives us a little time frame and strategy to employ.
No, I think that's a good idea. So you want to keep this order here?
Well, we're on a discussion item.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So there's nothing
We've
really.
been discussing this so long, I think. it's time.
But I do think, like I said, we'll have Bob present, simplistic design changes, not so much anything outside that rotary idea.
Yeah.
And put them in front of the council for the 21st. We'll set up either end of April or very early May to do another meeting here. And then at that point, trying to come to the decisions at that meeting of what we think we like to do. Then
'Cause we'll have-
shortly thereafter, if we can maybe organize a meeting, whether we do it through the BBA or whether we just do it on our own through the CED committee, try and get some business owners together mid-May to have a little bit of a feedback meeting and make sure that what we're suggesting businesses are on board with. So if it's positive, then certainly by the end of May, we're in a position to go ahead and put in those applications for the grant money.
Maybe we can even talk about the business owners if it's feasible about being a blighted area, so.
Well, we got to keep it focused. I think we're just looking to focus on getting downtown pattern and set up
No, just to get
on
their
an agreement.
input about it.
And then, so they can move forward with the grant because we got to get it done by June 1st. We'll have to save June 1st as the deadline. So,
All right.
but I think that's should be our strategy.
All right, sounds
I'm in
good.
agreement with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would suggest, and I think it's a good suggestion to meet with the business owners for, that is, initially we'll have a meeting with, downtown businesses fairly soon from my office and
Okay.
working with CED, and then, yeah, I do suggest.
If we
that's something
want
as well.
to, correlate that so we don't have to create too many businesses, but shoot for something mid-May. And if we work on putting that together, we can have our meeting before that meeting to
Right.
get
As soon as
prepared
they
for
tell
that.
me when they're meeting, I'll put it on the agenda. That we can-
Yeah, but I'm saying, like I say, meet with the business owners mid-May, but we'll meet between that meeting and our town council meeting.
Oh,
to
yeah.
Go over it.
But you were talking about when, town manager.
I
Yeah.
would keep that one separate.
Yeah.
Keep it separate?
I keep that separate. I don't want to create a relationship with, business,
Oh,
have them have an opportunity to
Okay.
meet
Okay.
me and talk. with
Perfectly
me, and
fine.
then we can have another meeting.
Oh, I think that's good, and I think it should be separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be my recommendations on that.
All right, so we're all done here.
I think we're done with discussion. Anything further for you, Mark? Discussions on that?
All right, well, thank you guys for showing up. Appreciate the input.
Thank you so much.
Oh, that's-
Any public comments?
Yeah, we got.
I know, I know.
All right.
Just,
You have Marilee first and then Carlton.
Who's first? Molly? Miss Hunt?
Marilee
Okay.
is first.
Yeah, sorry, I put my hand up so long ago. I just wanted to say, before you have Dr. Smith come in and talk to you about about what the Historic District Commission does, I would just really suggest that you read what they're required to do. It's right out there, easy to see, not particularly long, but I think it might be helpful when you talk to him to really understand what the HDC's requirements are.
Thank you, Mrs. Hunt. I have read it, and that's why I invited them before I started,
Good.
he won't change it, but I will reread it. And hopefully that you'll be able to come to the next meeting. So, I like your input because you've been a resident for such a long time.
And I also did the research, Peter Columbotus and I did it all when we got the award for doing the downtown and everything that kind of fell spoiled because of the town we were with. But yeah, I spent an entire summer doing the research on the downtown and what it needed to be fixed.
Well, thank you very much for your input. So, Carlton?
Carlton, and then
I'm-
James and Janet.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. I like your last discussion. My takeaway from that is in the next 2 weeks, a work plan needs to be developed that identifies the task and schedule for all the things you talked about. Without that, we're going to talk and talk and talk. If you have a work plan, then you can actually move the program forward. And I base this on 40 years of managing projects. Without a work plan, specifically with task and schedule, we may just bat our lips a lot longer. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, Carlton. James? How are you, James?
I'm well, thanks. How are you all? Happy spring. Um, just again, I know I said this before, but thank you for these discussions. I always find these really really insightful, and it's great to just hear this being talked about. In agreement with everything discussed, a couple just ideas that came to mind. Like something that I was taking away from this is I think it might be worth us thinking about, we've talked a lot about these individual kind of carrots and sticks for landlords downtown. Like how can we incentivize them to improve their property, and how can we disincentivize them from kind of just treating it as a cash cow and letting it be neglected? I wonder if we do an analysis that kind of puts all this together and really looks at the return on investment for a few of these. For example, with the enforcement, like how much, if we put these into place, like how much could we expect to get on fine revenue? Because even if we have someone who lives out of town and we just start billing them every day they're out of compliance, like maybe that's a nice funding stream for this, and at least kind of lights a fire under them. And then the conversation about the tax credits was really interesting too, and the investment that would be required there. I wonder, I understand the state tax credits are limited. If I read correctly, it sounded like the federal 20% credit isn't capped. So I wonder if there's an analysis, how much would it cost us to do that, to bring in that professional to do the analysis and get some of these properties in the district on the National Register? How much would that cost us? And how much would that, then kind of unlock in incentives for developers versus how much would it cost for us to do some sort of a matching grant or, facade improvement grant or anything like that? I think that comparison would be helpful to see of, how much do you get for each one of those different investments. And then last point on the blighted piece. Really relieved to hear that, that there's not too many outcomes there or impacts there. My concern was less on market value and more on, what power does this give a state agency or a municipal agency? And I trust this won't happen, but I just get the sense from hearing public comment and the town council as well. I think a lot of people are going to be fearful that this will give power to some sort of municipal agency to, amass properties and enter, some of these public-private partnerships and development. So even if it's just a clause in the or a line that says, the intent of this is mainly for receivership or liens, and this is not intended to, blah, 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 I think might be helpful to folks. But yeah, I think those were all my notes. Thanks again for the discussion.
Thank you, James. Is there anybody else, Deb? Guess not done.
Janet has her hand up.
Go ahead, Janet.
Hi, Janet Hanson, Pleasant Street. I have a few things as far as the blighted. I just still wonder how that affects property values for people that, their homes are not blighted, but they happen to be in that area, that if they want to sell. So that was the only comment I had on that. And as far as the downtown pedestrian road improvement, I used the parking lot behind what was sadly Periwinkles, the floor shop, Lucky Star. I've used that, but I use it on the weekends because I am not paying for parking. So, and I don't usually have an opportunity to go downtown. But you're talking about maybe connecting with the university on that parking and leasing some spots. I think that's gonna take. I don't think that's good because we are looking for parking for people that are going to be shopping, and if you're going to have the college involved, and then there's going to be students who end up parking anyway. But if I think originally they did it as a paid parking, if I remember correctly, to discourage students from parking there. But obviously that probably doesn't happen because no one's there to enforce. So I feel that it should be just for residents, not for the school. And but it is a nice parking if you can get by Lucky Star, that area definitely. And I know a couple of past counselors, Brad McKinnon, I think was one of them, has been trying to get that fixed for a long time. I personally can't parallel park, so I'm not in favor of parallel parking, but it's not going to, it's going to help with maybe pedestrians, but it's not going to help with the flow of the traffic because it takes a while for somebody to back in, back out, so, but I think if you do, and I don't know what they're called, the extension of a sidewalk, kind of like a little island, if you can, right where the crosswalk is, if you can extend that so people are standing there, not in the road, and then cars can see them and they can see cars. So, can we do that? That's a simple fix, I think. And as far as the roundabout is concerned, ixnay on that. And I have not talked to a single person. I don't have a huge following of people, but I have not heard of a single person that thinks that's a good idea. And there was not a lot of accepting of that roundabout at the meeting that when it was presented. I was there at that meeting. And then at the very end, when they were saying, okay, everybody click your button, if you're for it or against it, they did that so fast. I know a lot of people didn't have a chance. I even myself wondering if they voted for the right thing. So that survey should never be part of this conversation if that's the survey everybody's going by. The roundabout. So besides the fact that we don't have the money, it's not a good idea. I want the common to keep as the common. And just fix that parking lot. I don't think we want to involve BSU, and I don't think it's a good idea. And the last thing about enforcing, I do find the excuse that things can't be enforced is getting old. Things can be enforced if you put the effort into it. And, there's no will there to do it. And when you enforce it, you need to find people, you're supposed to be able to find. I mean, that's in the town code. You're supposed to find them and you get revenue that way. Some people will just let things go because they evidently have tons of money, or they feel like, well, I'm not going to pay because no one's going to enforce it. So we have to figure out a way to actually do what we're supposed to do, is enforce. You can't ask, policemen aren't going to arrest somebody because, well, you can't enforce it, or parents not going to scold their kids because they're going to keep on doing it. So, but you have to have the ability, and to say that we can't do something because we can't enforce it. We can enforce it. So it just has to be figured out. I'm just getting tired of hearing that you can't enforce it, can't enforce it. It can be enforced. And the parking lot it's supposed to be paid. Is anybody going in there to check to see if anybody's paid or not? I don't think so. And because if they're able to do that, then they can do the other things. So I just hope we get on board with enforcing. But I do encourage the maintenance of downtown, keeping historic without causing problems with rent. It's a lot to consider, but I would like to suggest some of those things. Thank you very
Thank you,
much for your
Susan.
time.
We appreciate your input. You want to speak on it?
Just one quick thing. I like the idea of meeting with the business owners about, the specific things we're talking about today. I just like to suggest that you consider also adding the property owners.
Oh.
Because,
Meeting that.
well, I know, but a lot of times it doesn't, and some of them are out of town, and if you send them information about the purpose of the meeting well in advance with an agenda, you may get some that will attend.
We'll give it a try. Debbie, is anyone else online?
Nope, no one else with their hand up.
All right. Anybody have anything to say before we adjourn?
Just one thing on enforcement. I think when we have a building inspector / zoning person, it's one person. I think it is difficult to enforce things. I don't know about the parking lot. I don't know if that's a police enforcement issue. If it is, then, if they're driving around downtown, sweep the parking lot.
I think once we take initiative and things start
Yeah.
moving, they will.
Right.
And then some of the block grants, I believe considered, you could hire a part-time enforcer, I think.
Actually, it's still open comment, right?
Yeah,
I'll comment actually, because I'm going to address that. I agree with Councilor Lindy. You have one zoning enforcement officer, building commissioner, who has to permanently inspect all these buildings.
Yeah.
That's a significant impediment to enforcement on that end. In terms of enforcement in the parking lot, we do have enforcement in the parking lot. We get parking tickets there. Police do that. But we do have a small traffic enforcement OT budget line for that as well. You have other communities who do a lot more enforcement where they have like a traffic enforcement division. We don't have that here either. I think we have to keep that in context. But we do enforcement over there. There are parking tickets issued at the parking lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was, in the past, there was definitely a parking enforcement officer that had their own car, and they would definitely be seen around town back in the day, but that was a budget situation at one point in time, so that was eliminated. So again, that's, goes to the whole situation as we're discussing these, ordinances to enforce without the actual enforcement. It's, why put it on paper? So if we have the ability to enforce what we're putting down on paper, then by all means, it's worth doing. So again, as we go forward, if there's a way to, through the police department, get some sort of parking enforcement officer that's more dedicated to doing these things, or if we get a situation where there's more integrated parking in the downtown and there's a specific purpose that, someone can go by and check, if they're there for longer than 30 to 60 minutes and things of that nature, then I think that would be more effective. But until people understand and realize that there is some enforcement going on, havoc will wreak. But ultimately, yeah, I think it's just, we got to get these ducks in a row, as Carlton mentioned, set up a work plan. I would put that on our chair to kind of set up a little bit of a timeline for us, and then kind of get those ducks in a row so we can review it at our council meeting, let them know, and our review of our subcommittees, kind of what our plan is.
I think we've been moving pretty long. I think we've been doing pretty good, but I'll write it all out for everyone. No problem with that. And I think one of the grants that money that we get from the Bellevue area is for, to pay for some enforcement. So, all right, can I have a motion to? Huh?
Potentially.
All hang over, getting, it's a potential, it's a grant process, it's a very competitive process. But that is one of the things you can.
I just speak those positive words.
That's what I like to hear, speak into
Okay.
existence.
There you go.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Everyone in favor?
All right.
All right.
10:10.
All right. Okay, John.
Yep.